Hello, Pickled Onion Knight here, and I am going to do a walkthrough on The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I planned to do this for a while, but I've recently just been trying out some new emulators on my PC, and I decided, do you know what, I'm just going to do it, I'm just going to go for it. Now, as I've mentioned, this is an emulated version of the game. I'd love to play it on the original hardware, but I don't have the cartridge anymore. And I don't want to pay the price for it, to be perfectly honest, to get it back. But as you may notice, I've used the graphical enhancements, and that's why it looks so pretty. Which is the thing you can do with emulators that you obviously can't really do with the original hardware. But I like it. I like using the graphical enhancements. I like that the Super Nintendo games, well, ROMs, I suppose, if you want to call them that, can look the best as good as possible, and you'll see that hopefully when it gets into the gameplay, that it just does look much better than it originally did. Even the graphics you can see here just look pretty fantastic, really. But then that's what a reasonably, well, I suppose it's a middle-end processor I'm using at the moment. You wouldn't call it a high-end one anymore, although it probably was when I bought it. But yeah, a lot of graphical enhancements. Anyway, so why have I decided to do a walkthrough for A Link to the Past? Well, there's a lot of Zelda stuff going on at the minute. Most of it's Breath of the Wild, because the Switch has come out and things like that. And there's a bit of a Zelda revival going on at the minute, and I thought, well, I can't really contribute to that because I haven't finished a Zelda game in years, and in fact it's years since I've played this one. But this is the first Zelda game that I completed all the way through, and it actually took me several years to complete it for the simple reason that I didn't consider it complete until I found all the pieces of heart, which I eventually did, and I've never used a guide for this game. It's always been feeling my way through, and the last piece of heart eluded me for a very long time, because I refused to use a guide. And in fact, when I did this, there was no internet guides really. So I'm just going to start playing. And yeah, onion. So we start here in your uncle's house, and I'm not going to read all the text because there's no point. You can, if you're using this as a walkthrough for yourself, you can. But I mean, just look at the sprites at the top, like the rupee, the bomb, and things like that. They do look pretty with all the enhancements. Well, I think so, anyway. So what you can do here is you can go and pick up the pots, and then you can fetch the lantern out of the chest before going outside. So we'll go outside in the horrible pouring rain. But what you can also do is, so I'll just go through this little bit again. You can completely miss the lantern in the chest and go straight outside. You don't have to collect it at all. So we'll walk up, and because I know where I'm going, what I'm doing. One thing I will say in this guide, I'm not going to go looking for the Chris Houlihan room, because I think that's not really part of the game. That's more of an emergency feature. And I'm not going to be doing the walk through walls glitch either, because that's not really supposed to be in the game either. So those two things are not going to be part of this walkthrough, but pretty much everything else is. Okay, so we go down and talk to Uncle Onion. Get his sword and shield. Take that. Now, bearing in mind, because I'm playing this on an emulator, I'm actually not using a Super Nintendo control pad to play it. So that is making things slightly more difficult control-wise. So you can actually get the lantern here if you miss it at the house. And you will need it because the game won't let you progress if you don't much further. But, well, you can... I am spoiling it anyway. You can rescue Zelda, but you can't... it won't let you push the entrance to the underground if you don't have a lantern, so you have to get it here, really. But yeah, I'll just explain. My control looks a bit sloppy here, mostly because I'm not using a Super Nintendo pad. The pad I'm actually using is the Wii U Pro Controller. Now, the D-pad on the Wii U Pro Controller is fine for most things, but it doesn't do diagonals very well. It certainly doesn't do them as well as the original Super Nintendo controller. And the way I basically set it up so that I could use the D-pad stupidly. The way I should have actually set it up is to use the analog stick, because controlling this game, and in fact most Super Nintendo games with the analog stick, is far, far better, especially if you're going to play something like Street Fighter. The analog stick is fantastic on the Wii U Pro Controller, and I would advise that that's the one. Certainly if you're going to play Nintendo games, I would advise that's the one you probably want to use for most things, and set it up so you can use the analog stick rather than the D-pad, because the D-pad, it's okay, but it's not very good. It doesn't do diagonals very well at all. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. But other than that, it's a fantastic controller to use. Or, obviously, if you're using Windows 10, the easiest thing to use would be an Xbox One controller. But I don't have one of them, so... But for the moment, for this bit of the playthrough, I hadn't cottoned on to the idea of using the analog stick, so I've been using the D-pad, and the D-pad is not as good. Yeah, so we're just going to walk through here, get all the hidden stuff. Kill this guy with one hit. Oh no, maybe two hits. Look! Ah! It's chasing me! I'm going to end up dead from this one guy. Get a boomerang. Standard boomerang. And again, I keep pressing the wrong button because I keep forgetting what the buttons are. It's so long since I played this game. And incidentally, I'm still not using a guide. I'm trying to do all of this from memory, so quite often in this walkthrough you might see me take a wrong turn, or I might cleverly edit that out. I'm not sure. I might just leave the whole lot in, even the bits where I've done something wrong. We're only human after all, says Rag and Bone Man, apparently. Now, there are two ways of beating the ball and chain boss here. Number one is to stun him with the boomerang and then hit him with the sword. Or the alternative is number two, throw pots at him, because then you only have to throw two, and it's very, very quick. Which is obviously what I've done here. Hooray! So we have to go to the first floor of the castle. And there is obviously the easy way to do that. We can take the high route to do that. Doesn't take much time at all. So I'm still struggling with the controls a little bit here, because I didn't think about using the analog stick. So that is my one piece of advice if you're going to use emulators. I'm very much used to an analog style controller now. It's very difficult to go back to digital controls after years and years of using analog sticks for everything. So if you are new to emulation, I would suggest you probably just do that. Do what makes it easier. That's the whole point of using emulators, is that you can pretty much do what you want. You know, you can enhance your games graphically, music-wise, use different controllers, all that you couldn't do in the original systems. And yeah, but so for reference point, I have obviously enhanced the graphics on this. I haven't touched the sound. I've left that as the original because I quite like the Super Nintendo sound, and I don't think the game would feel the same without the sound that it originally came with. So I've left that as original as possible, or emulated original rather. So yeah, this bit's actually pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. You can't really get lost in the castle. So yeah, if you didn't pick up the lantern before this point, it wouldn't let you push this altar to the side. It would just stay where it is. That's how you'd know that you'd missed something. So now we have to fight all rats and snakes. And I try and do it in the dark. You can light these torches using the lantern to do it, but I tend not to. I don't know why, because it's, you know, there's plenty of magic top-ups you can collect down here, but I don't like wasting resources. You know, I like to have full inventories of everything where I can, really, in adventure games, RPGs and the like. So I tend not to use the torches when I don't need to. Although, when you see my hit rate in these sorts of dungeons, you might ask yourself why he doesn't do that, because I'm not doing all that well. Missing a few sword swings here and there and getting hit quite a lot, or I certainly will be, because obviously I'm not narrating this as I'm playing it. I've played through the game and beaten it, and then I'm doing the narration later, so I'm trying to remember. It's about trying to remember where you got hit, and I'm pretty sure I got hit quite a lot, but again, that might be down to the sort of slightly wonky controls. I don't know why I'm still bothering to kill the enemies once I've got the key, but there you go. It's all about collecting things. So the good thing about these bits is the rats can't swim, so they're usually quite easy to kill, because they just run around the edges of things. So obviously when these videos get uploaded, I will write in the description what information I can as to what the videos contain, i.e. the items we've found, or the dungeons we've been in, or something like that. But I'm obviously going to collect the pieces of heart and all the missable items pretty much as soon as I can on this playthrough. So if you are after a specific thing, then, you know, maybe you've already done this first bit and you're after how do I get into the desert palace, or whatever, then obviously you can just skip to that point in the video if you want to. But I might be collecting things on the way that might be useful to you as well, so it depends on what you want to do. Obviously you can skip bits of the video if you don't need them, but on the other hand, I don't want you to miss something on your playthrough. Not that there's any 100% missable items in this game, but it might mean a lot of backtracking if you do miss something, or going far out of your way. Now, recognise this room, because this room is gonna come in useful later. We can't do anything with it at the moment, but it will come in useful later. Trust me on this. So yeah, this crack in the wall, remember that. So at the moment it's about collecting rupees as well, because we need a few rupees soon to get all the items that we can. I think the total amount of rupees we need in this game to collect all the items that we're going to need in the whole game is something like 1800 rupees. Oh, maybe it's not that many. There's at least 1500 rupees, I think, that we need to do everything in the game. Although I might be slightly wrong, because I can't remember how much the last bomb costs, but it's quite a lot. It's over the 999 cap of rupees anyway, so we do need to collect them as the adventure goes on. Yay, full hearts! Right, so we're gonna basically just head to the village, and you don't need to watch me heading to the village, you can just check your map, but it doesn't actually take that long to get there. And we're just going to ignore these soldiers for now, because we don't really need to worry about them. Right, so you'd be expecting me first of all to go straight to the house that's marked on the map, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go straight to the far top left of the village, and I'm going to jump down this hole here. Because first off, that gives us some bombs. And then we have to place a bomb here by the crack in the top wall. Like so. And then we can collect some stuff. So we've got loads of rupees now. So if we head in here, we can collect some more rupees and hearts and things. And we can collect our first heart piece as well. So that's a quarter of a heart we've got right there, straight at the beginning of the village. Two more hearts outside the entrance here, exit, whatever you want to call it. Then the next thing we're going to do is go straight down to the bottom left hand corner of the village, where there's a little hut with no door. And we're going to place a bomb here in the middle and open up that hut. Because what that'll do, they've got this little room here with pots that replenish every time you come in here, with bombs and arrows and rupees and things like that. So we should never run out of bombs from this point on. All we have to do is keep coming back to the village and we can fill them up anytime we want. So just check what's in all the houses. That's a little shop there, which we don't need at the moment. So we can go and check the old lady's house. And there's another secret room here, which isn't worth much, but we may as well try and get all the secrets out of the way, even the ones that aren't really worth getting. As I see, 10 arrows in there in a treasure chest, bit rubbish, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. Right, chase this guy away, and we'll go and visit the sick kid in bed and get another item. Oh no, we can't get another item yet because we need a bottle first. No problem. So all we have to do is go into the back of the pub, and in the treasure chests in front of the chicken we can get a magic bottle. Not just any bottle, a magic bottle no less. And then we can go and visit the sick kid. And we can get his magic bug catching net. So I don't know if there's any more secrets, but we may as well check the houses. No, just a guy. Yeah, so a lot of the village people will give you, the village people, yeah, young man, there's a place you can go to buy flippers at the top of the lake. No, a lot of the village people, you can't say village people without thinking of the song, can you? A lot of the people in the village will give you hints. See, this guy's talking about the waterfall of wishing. They will give you hints to stuff that's going on in the game. So even if you're, you know, a noob player to something, I mean, you will be able to get hints of what's going on. So you shouldn't really need a guide. I don't know. Maybe to find all the secrets, you know, a guide would be handy, but, you know, and these people walking around, just avoid them because they will call soldiers. And there's not usually much in their houses worth nicking anyway. Say a piece of heart, sorry, not a piece of heart, a heart, we don't need it. We've got plenty of hearts. There's nothing much in the village that can hurt us. So we've got the bird in the village square there. That becomes important late game. And I'm not going to keep saying spoiler alert because this is a guide for the game. I mean, obviously there's going to be spoilers, so just, you know, expect that. Expect that there are spoilers in basically a walkthrough of a game. So we'll go and talk to the little guy here. And he's going to sell us another bottle for 100 rupees. Luckily we've got 100 rupees, but if we didn't have 100 rupees, we could just wander into this house that I'm going to wander into now, and we could get 100 rupees from this house, basically. Not that was 1 rupee, but when we go downstairs, there's 100 rupees just to be had. Yeah, see, there's another hint for something later in the game. The people in the village are quite helpful. So we have to push the blocks in the right order to get these treasure chests. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. You get multiple chances. You can keep coming down here as many times as you want, and the treasure chests you haven't opened, you can still move the blocks around to get them. So even if you don't get it quite right, you can, you know, you can't really fail on multiple attempts. Yeah, Yeah, so that's 81 rupees we've got out of this house so far. Yep, another piece of heart. So yeah, well over 100 rupees we've managed to get. So that was 111 rupees in this one house. So yeah, if you haven't got enough by the time you get to the village, it's very easy to get enough. So we'll go and talk to the person that's in the elder's house, Sahasrahla. I won't learn how to pronounce it. So there's somebody in the village that knows where he is, so we have to find who that person is that knows where he is. Just so happens I know who the person is we have to speak to, so we may as well go directly there, because I've done pretty much everything else. I don't know why I walked round the long way then, that didn't seem to make much sense, but there you go. Hiding in the palace past the castle. Well, that was clearly obvious. Where else would he be? So, we're just going to leave the village by the south exit, because there's one more thing we want to do before we leave. And that is go to this house here that has two fighting brothers in it. Not really that interested in the dialogue, so we'll just do the things that we... You know, if you want to get interested in the story, you can talk to them, but, you know, it doesn't really add anything to the quest, so I won't bother. And this is a little game here where we've got to reach the goal within 15 seconds, so I'm just going to show you the easiest route to do that early game. Like I say, this pad I'm using doesn't do diagonals, so I've actually probably wasted a second there. So yeah, should be able to do that in 11 seconds. Piece of heart. So that's 3. We're one away from getting another heart container. And like I said, in this walkthrough, I'm gonna get all the pieces of heart and all the items, no matter how long it takes. So what's in that house then? Oh yeah, treasure game. We don't want that. So I'm going to head straight to where we should be going on the map. And I'll cut in if anything interesting happens in between. So I lost a heart getting to this point, but it doesn't matter really, because if I go in the cave here... oh. I must have got a heart off that guy. But that's a fairy that will restore all your life. So remember where that cave is, because those things can be very useful in a pinch. Try and avoid the projectiles here. So there we are, we've found where Sahasrahla is hiding. Again, I'm not going to learn how to pronounce it. It's your own fault for having a silly name. Yeah, I'll probably leave that crack in the wall for a minute, because it would mean wasting a bomb to get in there now. So on we go to the East Palace. Now these statues will start to move as you go past them, and they will follow you and try and trap you in corners, which they nearly just did to me. Don't know why I've changed to the boomerang there, because the boomerang doesn't actually affect them. but each one of them takes 4 hits to kill at this point, so much easier just to avoid them. But you've got to kill this one, because we've got to get past here. So here we are, right next to the East Palace. And we make our way inside.